Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Get ready to be inspired, hear success stories, and learn tips and principles for bringing out the best in everyone.
Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Rue, and you are watching or listening to Human Potential at Work. I'm excited about my guest because she's been on before, and I adore her voice. We had such a beautiful conversation, and we'll make sure that we give you a link in the description so you can go back to the other episode. But Allana Pratt, sorry, I'm
That's all right.
changing your name, is the author, and I love the name of this book, From Heartbreak to Heartmate, Discover Lockdown Love. And it's something that I don't know, Elena, how people really find love during these odd times. So I was very excited about having you on the program again and talking about it and just really talking about how do we navigate our lives in this new world, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on the show again. And do you mind just telling the audience again, you know, who you are and what you do? Because I just love the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I'm instantly in love with you again, Deb. Like it's so good to be here, and I want to acknowledge you for the depth of your listening. Allows for more of my wisdom to come through in our connection.
Ooh,
So thank you. That's really what I'm about, is this deep connection. So I call myself an intimacy expert. And what I've discovered is that when we're not deeply connected to ourselves, transparent with ourselves, vulnerable with ourselves, and instead we do the opposite, either avoid, abandon, or maybe criticize or reject ourselves, we don't feel home in our skin. We don't feel home in our heart. We can't even hear our intuition or our instincts. And it's very scary to live that way. The only place to live is spinning in our head, and doubt and fear of rejection and being hurt again. So, and the way I got here as an intimacy expert was that I was a hot mess. I wasn't connected to myself. And I realized by doing the inner work, I didn't have to blame my two ex-husbands anymore. I could see that I was the only one in common. And by doing this deep inner work, I not only found myself, but I found the divine, and I found a sense of home inside my heart. And not only just with my genius, my talents, my gifts, but also with my wobbly parts, and having unconditional love and patience and compassion for myself. And so this is what I teach my clients, members of my dating app, Heartmates. And when I speak on these beautiful interviews with you, it's about what does it take to become the one, to find the one, because that's the one that we're really seeking is ourself, right? And then how that vibrationally attracts an ideal mate in our life. And so this has been my world. I'm smart. I went to a Ivy League school, etc. I have 6 books, a podcast, etc. But I'm a real woman, divorce, death, been through a lot of things that a lot of people have gone through, custodial battle. So a lot of places where people say, well, that's easy for you. I do my best to be vulnerable and have compassion for all, because I do believe the very worst can bring out the very best in us. And so if we shift that point of view and really integrate the lessons that life's challenges has provided for us, we become our best self, and we attract somebody that honors and respects that about us. And
right.
life gets really juicy and delicious. So
I
yeah.
know. And I think right now, just with this ongoing COVID-19 experience, it just goes on and on and
Oh,
on.
I know.
And it gets so discouraging. And I think a lot of people are really struggling with. I know that I have been doing a lot of deep dives trying to figure out who am I really? Who am I
Yeah,
really? And walking a lot of trauma like everybody is. And it's just and as you said, being okay with ourselves, even our wobbly parts, because
yeah,
the reality is we all have wobbly parts. You know,
true.
people see little bite-sized pieces of us maybe and assume that we've got it all figured out. Totally not true.
Totally not.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so I just love what you're doing, and I love that you do it from the lens of, you know, all people, because this, you know, we everybody wants to have someone in their life, you know, and at different times with different ways. And I think it's just a very important topic that people don't aren't really talking about in the same way that I hear that you're talking about it.
Oh,
Just very, very, like you said, it's okay to be vulnerable.
mm,
And I know Brene Brown, you know, has talked about that a lot, and thank goodness she has. But I just think that we need to continue the conversation, because I think a lot of us consider that we're broken and that we're not worthy of love.
Yeah.
And also, are we worthy of love if we don't love ourselves? And how do you love yourselves when maybe you feel like you do have a whole bunch of wobbly parts?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the key.
I totally agree, Deborah. So even just last night, to be completely transparent, since we met last time on the interview, I met someone and
Oh,
he's staying with me right now. And last night, I was opening a bottle of wine after my working with my 7 clients, and I had said something about the price of the wine. And he very perceptively picked up on a bit of scarcity mindset. And so the idea of like, how do we have love from another if we don't love ourselves? So there was a blind spot where I didn't know what I didn't know. And when one does the inner work and attracts someone else who does the inner work, someone who doesn't blame or reject themselves, doesn't blame or reject the other, but invites with curiosity this wound to arise, so you can shine light on that shame and transform it. And so I sat there and I received his inquiry, and these tears came up, and I went right back to my first husband, the very wealthy man, where there wasn't a bottle of wine in the house less than $100. And I didn't know that I cursed myself when we divorced, that, oh, I'll never be able to drink lovely wine again. Because I didn't have the money that he had, and I was making the best of it, but there was a lens through which a lack lens I was looking through. And so I think a lot of us might curse ourselves after a relationship. Well, I'll never have this again, or I'll never have that again, or that's not in the cards for me. And I sat with it and I breathed, and some tears came up, and I was grateful. And I just sat with my little you, the little you who did her best, but unconsciously had that scarcity mindset. And I was invited into another point of view. And the story we tell ourselves is our reality. Our point of
right.
view is our reality. And sometimes we don't know that we have a story running that's cutting us off from love, abundance, freedom, joy, expression. And so in that moment, he was just being with me. And I was just being with me too. And we were just being with the tears, and it transformed. And I said, thank you. So that's like a mini example we can learn and grow alone. We can learn and grow in relationship. We can learn and grow. I have like group coaching and private coaching, like all these different domains. Whenever something comes up, we breathe, we lean in with compassion and empathy, with curiosity, and we go to that little you inside, the one who we don't think anyone's going to love, the one we're afraid to be rejected, the one who doesn't want to get hurt again. And that's the work. Go towards them and don't fix or change, but just breathe and hug in your mind's eye. Just grab them and snuggle them and just say, hey, baby, you've got every right to feel this way. I hear you. I got you. And then through magic, and it's actually science, quantum psychology, but by breathing and sitting in the fire of that lower vibrational wound, shame, fear, pain, anger, etc. It doesn't take very long, 5 or 6 seconds, which feels like eternity when you're feeling a really intense emotion. But if you sit with it long enough with compassion and kindness, it will literally, you can't get rid of energy, but you can, like alchemy, change it into allowance,
Right. Right. Well,
compassion, and then maybe strength, maybe confidence, maybe joy. Eventually you'll get there. But that's me, the real me, doing the real work, like literally last night, that I'm so not perfect and nobody is, and yet it's no reason not to do the work. Yeah.
I agree. And what I found, because I, like everybody, I'm walking some trauma,
Yeah.
and I found that over the last few months, I just, the fear has started overwhelming me. I was managing it, and then the fear started really, it just started overwhelming me. And it's funny you should say breathe, because I was looking at some spiritual videos online,
Yes.
and they said breathe, breathe, breathe. And so that's what I've been doing. And I am very ADHD, so I
Uh-huh.
struggle with the sitting down and meditating. And I do
Yes.
meditate in my own way, but I I've started really thinking more clearly about breathing.
Yeah.
And like you said, it can take 6 seconds, but there have been times that I remember I used to, and I will again, when we're safe, I used to travel a lot. And
Yeah.
every time I would travel internationally, every time,
Yeah.
I would get this weird feeling, this scary feeling
Yeah.
that I wasn't safe and
Yeah.
something bad was going to happen. And I remember thinking, and I would just push back past it and keep going. I would just ignore it,
Yeah.
which, and one day I stopped and when I was having this, one day I was going to travel internationally, and I just stopped, and I just breathed, and I just tried to move into, what am I feeling? And
Right.
all of a sudden, it's almost like I got a download, a little vision played in my mind. And I saw my dad he was going on a business trip to Chicago, and my mom was mad at him about something. And she was saying, "You don't even care about us. You travel and you just leave us." And I think that was what that feeling was. And as soon as I realized it and acknowledged it, I've
Yes.
never had that particular feeling again. But
Bingo.
yeah, but it comes across as you're scared, or I feel it in my chest,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I think right now, while we're walking all this continued trauma, um, I I found that I was almost getting used to being in fear, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to live
Mm.
my life that way. And so and the other day I was helping, did all my work, and I was helping my husband, my daughter, and then I finally had a chance to stop. And I thought, "Oh gosh, I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I'm depressed." And I thought, or maybe you're not overwhelmed and depressed. Maybe now. And so I just changed the dialogue in my head, and I
Yeah.
talk to myself. But it is hard to do, especially when society tells us we're broken. I mean, you know that I support the community of people with disabilities, and
Yes.
often people don't. My daughter with Down syndrome, she wants love in her life. She wants
Yes.
romantic love in her life.
Yes.
She wants to be seen as a whole, wonderful woman that she
Yes.
is.
Yes.
And but I think it's harder for all of us right now. That's why I think your work is so powerful and so amazing.
Mm.
And I certainly want to, shower you with the love you deserve, but also I know my audience needs it,
Yeah.
because we are all struggling. I know my producer just found out his daughter has COVID-19, which we
Right.
think she already had it. So we're like, what? So
Yeah.
everybody, and so that traumatizes me. One
Mm.
of my coworkers, the love of her life, just died.
Mm.
I mean, the trauma,
Mm.
and everybody trying to process it.
Yeah.
Doug just said in the background, still helping everybody process it. How do so that's why I was really glad that you're going to be on the show again, because I think you add a lot of value to these conversations. Will you also remind us what your podcast name is, so that
Oh,
people can follow the
yeah.
podcast?
Thank you. Yes. The podcast is called Intimate Conversations, both on all of the different podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. So you can watch it or listen to it like us. So I love what you're saying, that it's the trauma keeps getting traumatized. As soon as you think your kids had COVID, now she has it again. Like, hello. So we can call this uncertainty, or the rug being ripped out from under us. And the beauty of this lesson, as challenging as it absolutely, definitely, fundamentally is, the other side of it is it's always been uncertain. We've never had control. And we pretend that we do. We pretend that we actually know what's going to happen tomorrow. And we have a false sense of security from the outside in. And one of the gifts of COVID is to go, oh, that's not cutting it. I need to look for safety and security on some other place, which is from the inside out, which is what I was referring to before with this little you. So if we could look at what is the gift in all of these circumstances, and we could call it maybe a heightened experience or an invitation for growth, like your point of view of what we even call these times either triggers more trauma or
Right.
invites us to open, right? I remember when I called my $255,000 of legal debt, shaming me and I'm wrong and I'm bad and I'm not enough. And I'm like, well, that's not helping me manifest more abundance. So I started calling my debt my PhD in consciousness from the most amazing university in the galaxy that happened to be quite the expensive university, but I'm so much better now. So every time I paid off my debt, I would be grateful that I have a PhD in consciousness. And that slight shift allowed for the money to flow, the self-shame and, guilt and punishment to end. And so even calling these times, like, be careful, be aware of what are we calling these times, because they can be the worst of times or the best of times. Science says there's equal pain and pleasure in every moment. So we get to, and it's hard, and I get it. And some days are harder than others.
Right.
And yet, when we take those 5 seconds to soothe ourselves, and remembering that if we say to our brain, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I got this. And if we even add the visuals of little you inside of our heart, the one that needs a hug from us, we got this. And you visualize, you say, we got this. And you visualize and you literally hug yourself, right? Or you open your heart and you say we to the divine. Okay, we got this, right? The divine didn't go anywhere. We're the one that shuts ourselves off from the divine, right? And
Right.
so the divine, I would say, is like a vibration of love, care, compassion, and appreciation, gratitude, if we can meet the divine there. And the feedback loop of the field is insecurity, hesitancy, and shame and guilt. If that's who we be, we're going to get what we put out, not as a judgment call on oneself, but as a wake up call to go, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And so when I first meet the moment of fear, or how could that happen, or the rug is pulled out, or what, my kid has COVID again, or what, my beloved is now on the other side, like, oh, I send such blessings to your friend, right? So we be with what's so, and we breathe. And we
Yes.
choose in this moment to have our own back like a trunk of a tree rooted into Mother Gaia. Mother Gaia, hold me, I need you. But if we don't put our roots down, she can't support us with nourishment, right? And if we keep our heart closed, the divine can't nourish us with love. So we have to be brave and go first. We have free will here. So free will, open your heart, root yourself down, and ask for help while you hold little you. Like, even if all of this happens on the outside, I will not forsake you. I will not reject you. I will not abandon you. I got you. And that way of being for about 5 to 10 seconds calms down the nervous system, keeps us in our prefrontal cortex. And then this is where the best of our creativity is. And having little reminders. I mean, you should see my house. There's little like notes everywhere, right? I need the feedback. I need
Right.
to be reminded. And so we breathe, and then we can ask questions. Questions open doors.
Right.
So what's wrong with me? That opens a certain door. It's not a good door to go down. So
Right.
what's right about this? What's the gift in this? What superpower within me is ready to emerge now? How is this for me, not against me? Where would you like me to go, universe?
Right.
God, who would you like me to speak to today and call? Who's going to reflect back my truth, my essence? What
Ooh.
practice? Do you want me to go for a walk right now? If I can't sit still meditating, would you like me to dance right now? How can I be one with you? Show me the way, right? These
Ooh, beautiful.
questions bring
Yeah.
us home. And during this time, yeah, we have to do it a lot. We've got to do it a lot. So surround yourself with people, even if it's fewer than usual, but the ones who you can call at 3 a.m. and they'll just listen and love you. Be sure you reach out to those people. And if you don't have that person, who could be that person? Who could I reach out to? Because if we're not alone on the inside, that's a way of being, that's a vibration, and
Right.
that will be reflected on the outside. But if we forsake ourselves on the inside, we can't help but project that loneliness on the outside. So yeah, come home.
Yeah. Yeah. So much wisdom there. And one thing, I've had many failures in my life, and I've had many successes in my life. And
Yes.
people sometimes will say, I remember a man said to me one time, well, how did you get over the fear of being an entrepreneur and worrying
Mm,
about cash flow and can I
yeah.
pay my employees and blah? And I said, oh, oh, I didn't get over it, but I just feel the fear and I walk through it. And
Right.
the way I handled things before COVID, I thought was relatively healthy, but all during this COVID, I've really reassessed it and been very traumatized, very overwhelmed, like all of us. But I also, and I'm walking this very sad path with my husband, and that is, I know where it's going to end, and that's going to be sad. But I how would we have to all learn. And I just want to make one point. I want you to you know comment on this. But if we aren't taking the time to love ourselves in the first place, that's very hard for us. But at the
Yeah.
same time, who we're going to attract to us is going to be different than if we do take the time. I mean, you have a new love in your life, and you had to, marriages that weren't real. They equaled the energy that you were putting out. And that's a
Totally.
hard thing to think. So if I don't believe in myself, who am I draw? Because I still could draw love to me. I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the underlying key here, as I tell these different stories, is the invitation not to judge the different parts of ourselves that we find so that we can integrate the lesson into wholeness in the present moment. Not perfection, but wholeness. Wholeness means I love all of me, the wobbly and the magnificent, and we can all reside in my heart. So when I was first married, I was an insecure woman, like a damsel in distress, looking to be saved and chosen. I didn't even think I could choose. Like that never even dawned on me. It was just who's going to choose me so that I'm enough and I'm safe. And that
Yes.
was based on not doing any of my inner work. I didn't even know that inner work existed at that point. It was just like, save me. Tall, dark, rich, and handsome. Like, let's game on. I'm in. Right. Until I realized
You're told as a woman that that is what you should do too.
exactly.
I
And I
mean,
succeeded.
often by society. Yeah.
Oh, for sure by society. My parents approved, everybody approved. It looked all good on paper. But the core fundamental choice of that relationship was I'm empty, you complete me. Right.
Right.
And so two empty people would then be attracted to one another and need to control one another because your happiness depended on the other person. So it was
Right.
a lot of control and judgment and hiding and trying to be perfect on both people's behalfs. And we did some therapy, we did some workshops, and we grew. And I got the lesson and I blessed and released him. Moving on to the second relationship, it's almost like I did grow, but it's almost like I did the opposite side of the same coin. The first side of the coin was damsel in distress, and the other side of the coin was, I don't know, like bitch on wheels, like masculine, like control woman or something. Closed heart, I got this, I'm in charge, which is better than being a damsel because I'm willing to take responsibility and be in charge and create my life. But it was a harsh way. It was a closed heart. It was more masculine energy than feminine energy, but a step in the right direction. And it was when my mom was dying of cancer, and I just didn't want to feel that. And I didn't know at the time that I was choosing to close my heart. I was just doing my best. We're all just doing our best. But from a closed heart, who would I attract? The same, a closed heart. Right. And so within a very short period of time, mom died, married and divorced, single motherless mom. I'm like, oh my God, okay, the only one in common here is me. Let's really start to do some inner work. So the next foundational place I was coming from was I alone without the divine, I alone will control this. And a lot of fear of being out of control. And a lot of, I need to like clutch onto somebody and make sure that I make more money so that I make the decisions. And I like all of it. Yeah. Anyways, hot
Yeah.
mess. But that's okay. I grew. I grew. And then the custody battle that ensued after was another wonderful gift for me, where they were accusing me of all these things. And it showed me, oh my God, all of my worth is based on getting your approval, getting your agreement, looking good. And it really triggered those. So again, now that I'm in the habit of doing the inner work, realizing everything on the outside is a projection of what's going on the inside, the gift of that was, oh, in the face of totally humiliation, totally nobody seeing who I am, totally people think I'm a horrible mother, I know what I know. And I don't need agreement on the outside to rest in my truth on the inside. Not fun, I'll admit,
Right.
but beautiful in terms of coming home. And that's when I finally moved into this next stage. Not that I'm there or ever done, but this next stage where I'm like, okay, it's not all about me. I'm actually co creating with another energy, the divine. We're in this together. I'm not alone. Never have been and never will be. But my closed heart separated me. But as soon as I was willing to come home to self, it was almost like instantly Shazam, I came home to the divine. I'm like, oh, you've been there all along. Oh my God, you've loved me all along. Even my hot wobbly self you've loved. Oh my God, this is amazing. Right. And so even though I'm alone, I'm not lonely. And then becomes all the cultivation and all these other, the work that we do to take the shameful part, the terrorized part, the traumatized part, and to love each of these parts home through the quantum psychology processes and spiritual technology I've been trained in to do it efficiently in a lasting way. And then to live, I guess we could say, free with an open heart, which doesn't mean I don't hurt, which doesn't mean I'm not scared. But in the face of it all, soothing self, moving forward, knowing, not thinking, knowing I'm not alone. And the universe is responding to me a million times a second, only based on my vibration. And that's my responsibility, which is empowering. It's like an inner confidence. Like, I got this. I can change this. And that looks from the outside in as, oh, she's confident, or she's not going to manipulate me. She's okay in who she is. There's space for me to be me. Wow, she doesn't fix me. So you become really safe to be around, which is sexy, attractive,
Right.
to an ideal person who's not going to control you either.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you keep putting one foot in front of the other, and then you bump right into your beloved.
Yeah, yeah, that's so beautiful. And so, but how do you deal with it if you're told constantly by society? And I'll use my daughter as an example with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
It's almost like people don't think that she has the same needs as any other woman that's 33 years old.
Yeah.
And I will say, I am so grateful because she got her COVID-19 vaccine yesterday. And people with Down syndrome are, what COVID-19, how it attacks people with Down syndrome is scary. So I feel very, very grateful about that. And I was saying to her, honor that, love that. But often people, it's not just people with disabilities. It might be people with different skin colors, or Lord forbid you love the same sex, but how do you deal with it when society keeps telling you you're broken? Maybe society's been telling, maybe your parents did. Maybe you were blessed and your parents are telling you, you rock, you're wonderful. But then you went to school. I'll ground that with an example. I have a
Please.
lovely friend who was born with, when she was born, her whole face was split down the middle. It was obviously very traumatic, and for everybody involved. And her family took no pictures of her when she was a little girl. So her brother, there's like 1,000 baby pictures and little toddler pictures, none of her. And her parents were very loving and everything, but when she would go to school,
Yeah.
she was tormented.
Yeah.
And so she still to this day
Mm.
thinks that even though it's been repaired, I think she's gorgeous inside and out. I see her light, I see her beauty, but she doesn't. And it makes me sad that, but how can you not buy into what society's telling you, especially if they tell you over and over and over again?
Sure. For decades for people.
Right.
So first I would start with an acknowledgement that anybody that's going to come to the planet being slightly different sexual orientation, gender identification, seeming disability, color of skin, etc. To me, those are the badasses. Those are the old souls that are like, okay, I've already done normal life. Like, let's really dive in here and face all of this rejection and come home to myself. Like, to me, first, right off, these are like the heroes and heroines of my life. So that's number one. Number two, we are at choice with who we hang out with, what we listen to, the people that we hang out with. Do we turn on social media or not? Like, we actually have a choice. Now, as a child, okay, that might be different. You're sent to school and bullied, etc. But as we come into adulthood and we get to make our own choices, I don't want to swear, but like, I don't give an F what society has to say about me. I don't like, and I'm giving you the bird right now. Like, talk to the hand. Like,
I agree.
I'm at choice. So I don't focus. Like, what I focus on is my choice, and what I focus on expands. So some members of my family, as I became an entrepreneur or had a divorce or went through this custody battle, it was just too much for them to be with. They had never been with something so cruel and atrocious. And like, so the experience for me was that they rejected me. But really in reality is that they didn't know how to process it. They didn't know what to say. So they said nothing, they ghosted. And so I thought, okay, well, I could be a big old victim about this, or I can create my own family.
Yes.
And frankly, that's what I did. When my mother died, I'm like, okay, am I going to be a victim? I don't have a mom. Or am I going to say, okay, universe, can I please have 3 more? No? And of course I have my relationship with my mom in the divine.
Mhm.
And I have the lovely people that can channel her better than I can hear her, including my son. And so, but I also let myself have the flavors of my mama show up in other ways. And I got down to the essence of who she is. And I said, may I please have that in other ways? So if society is not acknowledging the grandeur that you be, who will? And ask for it and surround yourself. You don't need a lot. As a tight inner circle is all we really require. And then you start to get curious once your bucket gets filled up with some compassion, love, appreciation, and kindness. Then you go, where else is this possible? So I've literally created my whole life, my business, as an extended family tribe of people that see me and I see them, who honor me and I honor them, who celebrate the crap that goes on and celebrates the hitting a home run. Like, we just celebrate it all because we're brave and we show up and we do the work. And on my group coaching calls, there's some days where people are crying. And there's other days where people are on cloud nine, and it's all welcome because it's all real and it's all life. And people often say, oh my God, this is my church. This is my family that I've never had. So we can create that. You can create a business like that. You can create a tribe like that. You can find a tribe like that. So to anyone that's like, but society says, and what parents say, I'm like, stop focusing there. Be an allowance, which doesn't mean you like it, doesn't mean you prefer it, but it means you're not going to waste your energy resisting it, which keeps you on that life trajectory. When you allow, you unhook from that life trajectory and you're in the void, you're in pure choice, pure potentiality. And then what do you choose next? And then very clearly choose to be with people that love, respect, and honor me, which is not going to happen unless you love, respect, and honor you. And then, like, show me the way. And that's when you follow the little whispers, the little breadcrumbs, the tendrils that, oh my God, it
And
feels really great to be
and
here. I'm
they
going to do
are
more of that.
quiet. They
Say,
are so quiet. It is so when the universe, when God speaks to you, it is so quiet.
true, true. And so
It
to
is so
cultivate what you said earlier about breathing or going for walks in nature or dancing, whatever it is for you, gardening, cooking, it doesn't have to be sitting still on a mat. It can be, but whatever works for you to get the mind quiet and soothing little you so that you can hear those whispers. And sometimes people get whispers in words,
Mhm.
sometimes in body sensations,
Mhm.
sometimes in images, right? Sometimes in an emotion of
Oh,
joy or no, right?
right,
The universe
right.
speaks to you however you can hear it the best. And you can also ask, hey, universe, speak to me in a way that I can hear clearly, like not a 2x4 across the head, but like clearly. So I know the way. And as we practice, it gets louder. It gets louder
Right.
until it's uh-uh.
Yeah.
And then next, of course, is the bravery to actually follow what you hear, which is why I, as a coach, love to have people's back. And I have my coaches that have my back. Because even if you do everything we just said and you hear go left and you're like, yeah, but I'm scared. And, what if? And so we're here for each other. We're here in community. We can do more together, the collective. And so allow yourself to have a few people that have your back and believe in you. And then remind you, hey, if you fall down, you're just as worthy. If you hit it through the roof, you're just as worthy. I love you no matter what. And that occurs when we love ourselves no matter what. And we give for the sake of giving. We
Right.
shine for the sake of shining. We contribute for the sake of contributing, not in order to. Because all those in order tos we've been looking for, we've been filling our own cup daily with self care, self love, self practices. And COVID is not comfortable. And it's the perfect time to do this because you will be invited to be triggered every day.
I know, I know. And even though you're doing that, it doesn't mean you're not going to walk contrast and problems. I
Yeah.
also want to say a statement that I love and I try to live by is
Yeah.
it is not my business what somebody else thinks of me.
Well said. Fist pump.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Because it's like if you worry, and I do sometimes, and then I remind myself, it is not your business. It isn't because people project things on you all the time because they're afraid. So I really love that, and I love that so can people join your community? How does that work? Because I'm sure a lot of people. I mean, once again, you can get her books, her multiple books. You can listen to her podcast, but. Tell us more, only
Mm.
because I'm actually curious how your community works. Because I
Yeah.
think right now more and more people are trying to find what I and others call like almost your soul tribe.
Totally. What a beautiful way to call it. Yes, I got shivers on
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, I would love your daughter to check it out and see if it's a place where she feels safe. So, yes, so the first place people go would be heartmates.app, and that's the dating app and the intimacy training. And we have these things called Conscious Connection Fridays, where we gather as a community and we practice communicating. We practice what I call dyads, where you speak back and forth, you're deeply heard, and you are authentically expressing. And when you express, the other person says, "Thank you." That's it. Thank you. Which doesn't even mean I agree. It just means I heard you. And I was just
Right.
doing a call the other night, and a lovely woman. There was like a 26-year-old quote white girl and the she's in her 60s, black woman. She's like, I was talking to a young man with tattoos, and I was doing the conscious connection call, and I thought I would never meet this person in a million years. And in 15 minutes we were crying because we
Oh,
were so seen and so understood. And the qualities of questions that I provide are profound in a safe community. And so, this
right.
is what we do as a practice to show up and be heard, because it's very alone spinning in our brain. So, it's magical what occurs. And I remind them, we're not here to find the one because I'm so desperate and then I'll be enough. No, we're here
Right.
to become the one, and this is how we do it in a safe conscious community. So that's one of the trinity of this app, is the conscious connection calls. Two is the online training, and I have created so many videos and meditations and exercises. Alana is in your inbox once a week, loving you on video and my voice. So you're going to heal all those wounds and wobbly parts, which helps with the conscious connection calls, which helps when you're on your app and you're doing your profile, not from, what do I need to say so they'll like me? No, here I am, the whole me, and not with an edge of like take it or leave it, but honestly, it's okay. Like, if this isn't a match, I bless you. I wish you to find your one, your heartmate. And if you are, I would love to meet you. So on the app, we don't go straight. We can go straight for the who we prefer in our matches, but we also have this other button where you can just get to know the community and make friends, make allies, reach out and talk to somebody. Like, deeply talk to somebody. And even before the date happens on the app, there's 5 minutes before, you get a notification, and there's a 2-minute heart meditation.
Oh,
I
good.
help people get into coherence so their heart is open and that conversation with a friend, ally, or maybe the one goes well. So that would be stage one of how people can work with me. Heartmates.app, our community. I also believe my app is different, that it's not designed to keep you single. It's designed to keep you thriving in relationships. So after you've been in Heartmates for singles, there's Heartmates for couples,
Oh,
another year-long intimacy training to deepen that connection so that we keep our heart open even when there's conflict or disagreement. So that's stage one. Stage two, we have group coaching. And then we give people the app and the intimacy training as a complimentary gift. And we show up every single week on Tuesdays. And this is where I'm the coach, the group coach, and where my coaches give 2 or 3 sessions to you over the year to go a little deeper. And the community is tight. And again, it's wild. And people are like, there's nowhere else I'd want to be than right here with all of you. It's so safe and fun and free and inclusive and welcoming. Some people are like, okay, I need a little more help than that. So we have the inner circle, and that's where you get one private session a month. So a lot more of the deep dive work, plus me every single week with our group coaching. And we also have every 2 weeks these 4-hour deep dives. We just had one last weekend. Deborah, OMG, because here in that deep dive is where I ask you to bring your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your adult child. I want it to be that next level out. Like, okay, it's safe with you in a session, it's safe in the group call, it's safe on the Friday Conscious Connections, but I got to talk to my brother. I got to talk to my wife. So I invite the next level into deep conversations and processing. And it's so beautiful. Like, the marriages that are showing up that are shifting. Oh
oh,
my God, there
that's
was this
beautiful.
one moment, Deborah, where the little boy, the mom and dad were doing this thing, and there was a lot of combativeness. And I said, just could you just put your arm around her? And it was just, they were just like on eggshells, just harsh and like not relaxing. I said, just relax. And they started patting her back. I'm like, thank you for touching her. Why don't we move it from patty cake to more of a sensual? That's it. Slow it down a million times. He just saw her body just melt into him. So I was coaching them in the moment. She was opening, surrendering, because she's more in her masculine normally. He was learning how to be that noble badass. And it was this beautiful moment. And here's the thing. And then little Robbie walked in the room, and he went right in between the two of them because he felt the safety, the energy, the connection. Everyone else on the call lost it. And I said, anyone whose parents weren't this, in this moment, let your little you snuggle in between the two of them. Let this moment be healing for everyone on this call. We were all a mess. It was profound. I didn't plan that, but I create the space for it. And I'm willing to coach those moments and say something in a way that works for someone. So yes, these are all the different ways that I work with people. It's a privilege, it's an honor, and it works. Yeah.
Oh, and it sounds so beautiful. Now, remind us, are you on social media?
Oh, everywhere. Yeah. So
So,
yeah.
but tell us, let's take the time. Are you on YouTube?
Yes.
Tell us where you are on the different channels. So, in the first place, I need to be following you. But
Thank you.
yeah, so
Yes. So
and
YouTube is my name, Allana Pratt. You can even go to allanapratt.com/watch, and then you can subscribe right there. There's
oh, excellent.
thousands of videos, and I do fresh content 3 times a week. So lots of videos there. As we said, the podcast. Instagram is Allana Pratt with 2 L's, and Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest. Like I'm everywhere.
I know you have to be. I'm the same way. I'm on everything, and that also is stressful. But we're changing the world, so you got to be everywhere.
And I love to play on Instagram and do these lives with different influencers that I meet and contribute to their community and interview them on mine. And to me, it's really just about creating partnerships and answering people's questions and loving people when they need it the most. And now that I'm getting busier, I've got my Allana Pratt Method coaches that support me, and they're badass. They're amazing. They're highly trained. So I've got more time to do these conversations, Deborah, be on Instagram. And then with my app, I love to just check in on people like, hey, I see you didn't do your profile. Can I help you? Let's get on Zoom for 5 minutes. I actually care and reach out and talk to these people because we all want to move through our barriers, but we often hit the barrier and then we get on Facebook or we get on porn or we go for another pint of ice cream or we do what we do. And that's okay, but that's not working. So I take that extra step and I help people, and I ask that we can do it on video so I can give it to everyone in the app so that everybody that's blocked there, I can help everybody through that hurdle, that speed bump to the next level of flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I love, love, love your work. And I know we're at the end of our time again, and I'm hoping you'll come back on again. I love your work. I love it. And
Oh,
I
Deborah, I
think
love you
it's so
too.
meaningful right now, even more so now. It always has been, but times have changed, and that's good. And it's good that they've changed. But so let me give you the last words to the audience.
Thank you. Yeah, I invite everyone to have a little practice every morning, hand on the heart, hand on the belly, and just check in with your sweet self and say, hey, sweet self, is there anything I haven't slowed down to hear you say? And listen. This will begin that inner relationship, that inner intimacy. So that would be step 1. And step 2, from that inner relationship, what is one thing you can do every day that would make you feel more delighted, more alive, more vibrant, more fully expressed? Because energy comes in as and through us. And if we're not taking that step and we're not allowing life force energy to have our back and express, it kind of stays stuck. And, a month can pass, a year can pass. So every day, whether that delights you to call a friend, go for a walk, put on a little extra eyeliner or lip gloss or whatever it is, or sparkly underwear, or I don't know what it is, snuggle your animal, just anything that keeps the energy flowing every day. You'll be in the flow. You'll hear those whispers and you'll show up and give your unique essence to the world. And the world needs your unique essence right now. So thank you for being brave and giving it. You're a gift. You're a gift. You're a gift.
Oh, well said. Thank you so much for being on the show again. And thank you to the audience. I'm trying to provide content that is helping us all be safer and happier. So that's why I'm so excited that Elena is joining me. So
it's so good. Group hug.
Thank
Hugging you right now.
I agree. I well said. So thank you, everyone.